If you consider yourself a hard worker with a strong work ethic and you're putting all that in and you're not getting the result that you want, this is going to damage your ego. You're listening to the Be Better podcast. I'm Harrison Orr, and after coaching 500 men and going through this journey myself, one thing is painstakingly clear. Unless you are grounded in yourself from a nervous system level, from an identity level, everything else that you desire in life will elude you. The marriage that you want, the type of father that you want to be. And this is where the work starts. Today, I was sitting in my office, mentally going through some of the biggest lessons that I've had in my journey. And I was going through some of the mentors that I've had, some of the lessons that they've taught me, and the biggest shifts that I've had. And one stood out. One that I know just about every single business owner, hardworking, high-performing, masculine man is going to resonate with, and that's around work ethic. Like, work ethic and working hard, first of all, is part of most men's identity, right? That's what we pride ourselves on, being able to work hard, work long hours, being able to sacrifice. It's also inbuilt into us as boys, forced into us that is almost where our worth comes from, right? That's your job as a boy, to provide value to society, to your partner, to your family, to everybody. Like, you are only as good as your utility. And so you want to be good. You want to have success in whatever realm of life that you deem important. You got to work hard. You got to sacrifice, which means hard physical work, right? It's either physical labor, often in the early days, or then that the physicality of it translates to less sleep, more work, more caffeine or stimulants to get through. And that's definitely the way that I used to operate. If I needed to get something done, that was my default. Cool, I'll get up 2 hours earlier because, there's a couple of reasons. There's a nice feeling being up before the rest of the world, right? There's a stillness, there's a quietness, like where you're not disturbed. And there's also a bit of like an ego thing to it for sure. And, come with that overstimulation from caffeine and stimulants to get through the day and all that stuff. So that was my default way of handling pressure, handling workload and things like that. And I know a lot of other men have that same mentality, and rightfully so, because it fucking works. It works, right? Using that brute force to build a business, to get fit, to build a life. It fucking works. Right. And this is the hardest part, not the hardest, but like one of the hardest phases of growth is transitioning from that mentality, right? Being able to let go of that identity, of that ego. And this is where the lesson came in, because we were talking about personal life. Like, he was a personal mentor, so helping me with like my own personal growth plus my marriage and things like that. And he said, what you are referring to as hard work is not hard for you anymore. Getting up early, working long hours, like grinding into the stone is not hard for you. But it's hard, yes, in the sense of it's not easy to do, but it strokes your ego. Like, you feel stronger by doing it. You get a reward. Like, you get off on it being harder. And so that doesn't feel like discipline to do that. What's going to be hard for you is learning to sit the fuck still. Learning to separate your performance and your output to your worth as a man. Learning to be present with your son and your wife without feeling like you always need to be doing something. Learning to be able to feel an emotion without instantly spiritually bypassing it and reframing it, suppressing it, or finding the silver lining and then moving on. Being able to actually sit and experience the emotions, first of all, for yourself, and then the emotions of your wife and your son. that is your hard work. To say I felt like I'd been punched in the gut was an understatement. You ever had those moments where you felt like someone has seen into your soul, like someone has seen straight past the story of life that you thought was reality and straight to the core? It was one of those moments. And he was right. That has been the hard work, right? For a lot of men, a lot of the business owners and the successful men that I talk to and that I coach were in the same situation of trying to work hard, trying to do more, like trying to apply the principles of success that worked in phase one. Right. Phase one success is build the business, build the life, like the hard work, the discipline, all the things. And then they try to apply that thinking to building a better marriage, to being a better father, to addressing the lack of fulfillment, the lack of authenticity, the lack that they feel within themselves when they're at home, when it's quiet, when there's emotion in the room with their wife and their kids. And so reframing what hard means has been a huge part of this journey for me. Because when we look at it as well, certain people will find different things hard. Some people find getting started as hard, right? Getting the motivation to move in the first place as the hard part. Other people, it's hard to rest, right? In fitness, health, gym, some people find it hard to actually get to the gym a couple of days a week. If you're like me, you find it hard to rest. You find it hard to actually sit still and not go work out, not move your body and do that because so many identity levels that are tied to that around self-image, about being lazy, about work ethic, about I'll get fat, self-image, there you go, and everything else that comes with that. Different levels and layers of hard. When we cling to the same methodology, the same system, and it's not working, is when we start to burn ourselves out. And you end up giving yourself a bloody nose because of how many times you hit your head against that brick wall, just, why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? And that's where we burn ourselves out because we're doing more, and not getting the result. It's like the nice guy mentality of, well, I was nice, but I didn't get what I wanted, so I have to be even nicer to get what I want. Not stopping to contemplate, maybe, just maybe, it's my system. It's my strategy that is not right in this domain for this outcome that I want. And detaching from that, learning to detach from the work ethic, from grinding so hard, from my worth being attached to my output, from being able to sit still physically and mentally, being able to sit with an emotion, not get reactive, not go into fight, flight, or freeze mode, not have to solve it immediately, not have to move on from it to try not to experience it, has been one of the most probably humbling parts of this journey. But I'd also say one of the most empowering, because I guess this is more the internal journey. I'll phrase it that way, right? The first phase is often external, right? It's how my body looks, the success and the material wealth that I've built from the external world. Like, it's everybody else looking in, like having that solid thing. Like, is this what everyone says is success? Is this what everyone says is strong? Like the pride that comes with that work ethic, with the sacrifice, with the discipline, like the traits that a successful man, we're all told, has. But that, I feel that's why so many men get to where they should start looking into phase two of success in their life. Like, they get to their mid to late 30s, the 40s, maybe even 50s, and they've got that stability in life, and there's still the emptiness. There's still the I'm reactive. I'm not present. I feel disassociated. I feel like I can't even understand my wife. Like no matter what I do is not good enough because I can't understand her emotions. I give her a solution. She yells at me or she shuts down, or I try to solve something and it's never the right thing. And that becomes frustrating, right? Because we then often try and apply logic, quote unquote logic, or the same system that got us there. But that same system won't work. It's like just a short break. If you're a man who's winning on paper, like the business is solid, the money is looked after, life looks good, but at home it feels distant, you feel disconnected, then this is for you. It's not like you want less responsibility. You just want to be able to handle more without getting reactive, checking out, or just getting tense. You want to stay calm in your wife's emotions. You want to be present with your kids, confident without performing, and ultimately respected and desired without having to prove your worth. But right now, it probably feels like you're holding it all together, maybe barely, or maybe you're still chasing it, but you haven't embodied it yet. Now, I'm running a free live masterclass called Evolve, where I break down how to build grounded masculine presence from the inside out. So your success stops costing you your marriage, your energy, and your self-respect so that you can be the man who does it all. If that hits, the link is in the show notes. Now back to the episode. I'm trying to think of an example. My brain's farted right now. But it's a different level of success. So what we're aiming for, and this is my viewpoint, and the way that I phrase this, because a lot of the men that I've spoken to, and I had this reservation in doing this as well. I'm like, okay, if I sit still, does that mean that I'm lazy? If I learn to feel my emotions, is that going to make me weak? Is that going to make me vulnerable? If I start to train and learn these skills and have this capacity, is that going to take away that edge? Is that going to take away that work ethic? Is that like, am I going to go the other side? Like I'm going to be everything that I shunned almost. But it was quite the opposite. When we only have one of those traits, like that one subsection of tools, we're still not a complete unit. And I feel that's where that emptiness, that frustration, that hollowness comes from, is because there's a missing part. And of course, there's a reservation or a hesitation to encompassing, like to embracing that, because you've got all the proof in the world that system works, right? That system gets you the body, gets you the money, gets you the business, gets you the material wealth, and like, well, it helped to get you the wife and everything that you've got in this point in life. But what got you here won't get you there. And so it's just because we learn to sit still doesn't mean that we're lazy. Just because we learn to feel our emotions doesn't mean that we're weak, doesn't mean that we're vulnerable. It actually creates range. It actually creates a full, whole, rounded, integrated man. A man that is capable of working his absolute face off when he needs to, because he's got the drive and the work ethic. But he's also capable of putting his phone away, sitting still, and being present with his kids or with his wife. He's capable of being aggressive when he needs to be, and just direct and an absolute savage. But he's also capable of being soft and empathetic and grounded when he needs to be. That's the crucial part. When he needs to be. And so if we don't have access to all those tools, we don't have access to those other emotions or those other states, we can't access them. We use the best that we've got. Like if all you've got is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And so we're limited in how we can handle those situations. And that's why things play out the way that they have. It's why your wife gets frustrated. That's why you feel like whatever you do, it's not enough. It's not good enough. It's not the right thing. It's why maybe you feel disconnected or distant at home, why you feel reactive, like all these other things, because there's a tool, there's a skill set, there's there's a capacity that needs to be trained, but it hasn't been rewarded before. And there's a different measure of success. At home, we're not measured by our output, by our performance. The currency at home is presence, is relational, is emotions. Right? Can you feel what I'm feeling? And as a side note, in terms of communication with your wife, that's where the real communication happens. She's going to say some things out of her head at you, some noises, and a lot of men, I used to, will try to solve that. I will speak to the words that have come out of your head. But there's an emotion underneath it, which is the real thing she's trying to communicate. It's the real thing that she wants me to understand, wants me to feel. And if there's a lack there, like she's not feeling appreciated, she's not feeling heard, she's feeling alone in whatever it is, unless I can feel that, speak to that, address that, whatever's coming out of her mouth is the issue at the time, will just resurface in another way until that emotion, that need is understood and is met. And so as men, unless we can feel and understand ourselves, we're not going to be able to do that to our partner, our kids, or anybody else. And so a great mental model, a framing, I should say, that's really helped me in, I guess, a level of surrender in this journey, in being able to feel these emotions and go deep into some of these things that previously I thought were stupid, redundant, was the frame that you can only love and understand someone else as deeply as you can love and understand yourself. You can only love and understand someone else as deeply as you can love and understand yourself. And so we might say that we love our wife, we love our kids, but that can often just be lip service, right? In the same way that a lot of people say they practice gratitude, oh, well, I'm grateful that I've got a house. I'm grateful that I've got money and a successful business and a hot wife and, smart kids, but it's not a felt experience, right? It's not a deep in your core, in your being. I'm truly grateful. I'm truly appreciative of this. I truly love the hell out of my wife. All the things that I love about her, all the things that trigger the shit out of me, like from her, and the same with your kids. And to the degree of understanding, when we can experience these emotions for ourselves, when we understand the parts of us that show up in these certain areas, why we had that level of discipline and drive, why we had the resistance to it, why we do all these things from an understanding point for ourselves, we can then see that in other people. And when we can understand other people, our connection, our communication, everything becomes much deeper. We start to have actual relationships that aren't just surface level. Like, think about the last time that you genuinely had a deep conversation. I don't mean deep and emotional, but like literally a conversation that went deeper than how was your week? What's on for the week? What about this weather? Like, what are you guys doing for the long weekend or for Christmas? Or just surface level bullshit. Like, when was the last time you genuinely had a deep conversation where you got lost in time? Like, you guys were there for hours. It felt like no time at all had passed, and it just went from one thing to the next. You weren't overthinking. You weren't listening to respond. It was just like this flow of communication, of connection the whole time. That's what happens when you can deeply understand yourself. And in a relationship, you will only be able to understand and communicate with each other and love each other and have the sex life and all the things that you want to the depth of one person. Like the person that has the shallowest understanding of themselves will be the limiting factor in that relationship. In the same way that if you've got toddlers, if you were trying to talk to a toddler, he or she is not going to be able to then match your language and come up to your level to communicate and understand each other. Right? You're going to have to go down to their level. And sure, that's fine for a little bit, but you're like, okay, cool. I'm sick of repeating the same thing. I'm sick of toting this. Like over time, you have a level of understanding to start with, but over time, it's like, cool, they learn more words, they get smarter, you can have deeper conversations, like you can ask better questions, they can start to think a bit more critically, not just observationally, and the conversation grows, right? But unless we're doing that work, we're stuck in that surface level space. And this is an uncomfortable space for a lot of men, like this understanding of themselves and the emotions and things like that. And so I say that as an invitation to improve the depth in which you understand yourself, in which you can love yourself. And if you're still of the viewpoint of, I do everything for my family, I'm the provider for my family, I'm the protector, everything is them. Well, when you do this for you, you show up, you have this understanding of yourself, you show up better, you do all these things. How did they get to benefit? How do your kids get to benefit when you are more calm, you are more grounded? You can hold emotions without shying away, without going into fight or flight mode, without getting reactive, without having to solve it. You can sit there and you can hold that. What experience do they get of dad then? Who can hold their emotions without losing his shit? Who can hold their truth without losing his shit? What kind of trust do you think that builds when they can come to dad with anything and he's gonna help me work through it? Sure, I may have done something that I wasn't supposed to, but I know he's not going to kick me out of home. He's not going to beat the shit out of me. He's going to be on my team at the end of the day. I dare say most men want to have that relationship with their kids, but their actions don't align with that. Same with your wife, with our partner. How does she benefit when we do this work? She gets someone that can hold those emotions. She gets someone that can work through his stuff a hell of a lot better. So the version of him that shows up is actually a more put together version, because in his space, okay, I'm feeling this thing, I'm dealing with this thing. Okay, I've got my support group of my brothers over here. Take it to them. They can challenge me, help me refine it. Beautiful. I come back a little bit solid, more solid, I should say. And this is how I step into my relationship now. I've been through the thing. I've got the solution. I've got my workings and I've got the plan moving forward. I can now show that to my partner. So she's kept in the loop. Communication is being proactive, and she now doesn't feel like she has to be the burden of my emotions, the director of my decisions or plans, or the problem solver. And the weight is lifted from her. And so that then coincides to the depth of safety, the depth of like intimacy that she will trust in you and relax into you and allow you both to experience. So it's win-win-win in my books anyway. So I'm going to wrap this up here, but I wanted to share that because if you're in a space right now where you feel like you're trying everything, you feel like you're working hard, you feel like you're doing more, you're doing all the hard things, or maybe not the hard things, but you're doing all of the things and it's not getting you what you want. It's probably time for a change of strategy. Probably time to reevaluate this. And maybe the work that you're doing isn't the work required to get that result. It's not comfortable, but that's the definition of growth, right? If you're comfortable, by definition, you're in the comfort zone where it is familiar, where it is known, where nothing new happens. Feeling uncomfortable is only uncomfortable until you regulate yourself enough to know that you can handle whatever's on the other side of that discomfort. So if you're feeling uncomfortable, lean into it, grow. That's the beauty of having a coach, a mentor, like a brotherhood, things like that. They dangle you over the edge outside of that comfort zone until you can regulate yourself. And then you plant your feet. and that comfort zone grows. And then you keep pushing and pushing. And now that hard work that you've been leaning on so much is now redefined, and you can do the real work. And that's where success in phase 2 of life begins. Success in phase 2 is the intimate relationships, the understanding and knowing of self, the grounded masculine presence and leadership of your son, of your wife at home, most of all, of yourself. So I hope that lesson resonated with you and prompted some deep reflection. Don't be sorry, be better.